The Hizmet movement is a necessary corrective to the view of Islam that unfortunately has been painted by Puritanism, extremism, and violence. Movement, the Hizmet movement that is all inspired. The service aspect in exchange for preaching. I'm Mahmoud Sadri, Professor of Sociology at Texas Women's University, and my specialty is Sociology of Culture and Comparative Sociology of Religion. I first became familiar with Hizmet through my graduate students. I have had roughly a dozen graduate students who I came to know were part of the Hizmet movement. Through them, I was able to visit Hizmet centers such as the Turquoise Center here, the center in Houston, as well as some Hizmet schools. I believe the Hizmet movement is the universalist, pacifist face of Islam. It is emphasizing the service aspect of the Islamic faith. I have never met Fethullah Gülen. I have watched his videos. He is genuinely moved by his beliefs. And he obviously is a charismatic person. And the evidence for that is the sprawling movement, the Hizmet movement, that is all inspired by his preachings and his teachings. Fethullah Gülen is a disciple of the great and prolific Islamic author and mystic Bediüzzaman Sa'id Nursî. Just like Bediüzzaman Sa'id Nursî, Fethullah Gülen has a vision of Islam that is a vision of service to humanity, a vision of selflessness, and a vision of the ultimate unity. The movement of Mr. Fethullah Gülen, based on my review of the literature and the books and the poetry of Fethullah Gülen, and his treatises on Sufism, on Islamic mysticism, is a movement that combines Islamic orthodoxy, Islamic Orthodox practice with Islamic mysticism. And as such, it preaches service to humanity regardless of faith and healing of human souls and educating human individuals. Together, it's a unique combination of characteristics that are present in Mr. Fethullah Gülen, orthodox practice and mystic pacifist view of the world. And his movement also has picked up those characteristics. The Hizmet movement is a necessary corrective to the view of Islam that unfortunately has been painted by Puritanism, extremism, and violence. Hizmet movement, the diametrical opposite of those characteristics. It's a movement dedicated to service, dedicated to tolerance, and dedicated to service to humanity. What is unique about the Hizmet movement is that it is a religious and religiously inspired movement directed towards service to humanity. Now, there are Christian movements, Christian missionaries who do the same thing, go to various countries, offer services, offer clinical help, offer educational services in exchange for preaching, in exchange for conversion, in exchange for religious activities. Hizmet movement does all those things, goes around the world, offers its services without an attempt to convert, to proselytize. I have a graduate student who told me the story about a clinic in Kenya. He said across the street there was a missionary clinic and there was a tableau in front of it that announced clinical service along with preaching. The Hizmet movement set up another clinic across the street with a tableau that said clinical services without preaching. And I think that story basically crystallizes the character of the Hizmet movement. From what I understand, the Hizmet movement has spread first into Central Asia. And that is a vast swath of land with very few educational opportunities. And from what I understand, there are 700 Hizmet schools only in that area of the world. Judging only by that contribution, what Hizmet movement has done is unprecedented. And Muslims, of course, in places that are deprived of health services and educational services, and therefore they become prey to extremism, to desperate acts, direly need the services of a mainstream, tolerant Islamic care. And that is what the Hizmet movement offers. Is genuinely interested in interfaith dialogue. The concept of interfaith dialogue is a modern one. It's a 20th century concept. And it is based on understanding and appreciating the beliefs of others without an attempt to convince them or persuade them to convert into your religion. Unfortunately, there are a lot of movements that just talk about interfaith dialogue, but they are missionary activities in disguise. The Hizmet movement is a movement that is genuinely interested in interfaith dialogue. That is, understanding others' points of view, others' spiritual presence in the world, and allowing them to appreciate the spiritual presence of Islam as a world religion. I have always said that the only antidote to the blight of extremism and male chauvinism in the Islamic world is education. Education for boys and particularly education for girls. The fact that the Hizmet movement has devoted so much of its resources to open schools and excellent schools, schools with very high standard of education in conflict zones, in areas of the world that are deprived, that are poor, it speaks loudly for what Hizmet stands for. I know that there is a long waiting list to enter these schools. And I know the efforts of the right-wing activists to label Hizmet schools as some kind of a missionary, as some kind of a fifth column, have all come to naught, because there is nothing that anybody can detect or discover that would indicate that Hizmet is anything but a movement genuinely spiritual, but completely innocent of preaching and proselytizing in wherever it goes. I have to confess, as a sociologist, as a scientist, of course, we are trained to have a good dose of skepticism. The answer to the question, or the adage, too good to be true, is another adage. And that is, the proof is in the pudding. Go and investigate. Go look around. And see if it is too good to be true, or it's simply good and true. To the extent that I have learned about this movement, I have not come across anything negative, and anything that would detract from the fact that people in the Hizmet movement are not in it for worldly gain, or for fame, or for political advantage, or for economic advantage. It's a group of extremely dedicated, professional, highly intelligent, highly educated people who have devoted themselves to service of humanity. I would say exactly what you're doing now. Offer information about what Hizmet is doing. And ask people to witness and to critique it. There is an element in among religious people and among Muslims that has to do with not advertising what you do. It has to do with doing things just for God. That is all good and true. But when you are involved in the secular world, in the contemporary world, you will also have to be good in explaining what you do. Not for the purposes of bolstering your position or patting yourself on the back, but just in order to make things as transparent as possible. So the more you make the great activities of the Hizmet movement transparent and easy to access and easy to witness, the better known it will become, both within the Islamic world and within the Western world, and all the skepticism will melt away.
So the Hizmet movement then has tried to articulate and be a spokes voice for a more moderate vision of what it is that Islamic sensitivities are.
The most amazing thing about this movement, non-movement, the fact that the ideas live and they touch people and they call you to service. You don't have to sign up, you don't have to pay any money, you live these ideas and these ideals,